debt numbers. He gave infrastructure numbers, infrastructure projects and things to support them. That's the first part. Then the second part is the dissecting the document itself with respect to what we plan, to do.
A number of revenue measures are being scrapped off. Is that sustainable for the NDC, knowing that we're running an IMF, a program with the International Monetary Fund? You are a former finance minister. Is that sustainable?
May I remind the media, and I knew this was coming, may I remind the media that we were in an IMF program preparing 2013, 2014, and the ECF 2015. We were in a fund program when we did most of the infrastructure projects. The IMF is not against you mobilizing and managing effectively, right? So if you recall, Terminal 3, the harbour and all those loans were acquired through our self-financing or smart borrowing, strategies.
You're talking quite a significant one, the e-levy, for instance.
Don't forget
how will you plug the holes? How will you plug the revenue holes?
Well, he spoke about rationalization. And don't forget that we inherited the single spine, which was quite significant, initially through borrowing, and then we had the negotiations with labor. You heard him talk about, the consultations. Don't forget that we also experienced the damage of the pipeline from Nigeria, which resulted in Dumso, right? And for which we had to adjust strategies, and we ended with excess, which excess power, which should have been a blessing, was made to look like a curse. Right. So we are not saying that, it's going to be easy, as he said, but it takes dedication, because simply because you are in a fund program, does not also mean that you should come to a standstill, right? And so that's the point.
You don't have a clear picture of what the situation
and let me make the last point. Don't also forget that we had these difficulties. We were in a fund program when we launched the progressively fee-free education and built, the e-schools. And as was said, we were honest with Ghanaians. Once crude oil prices fell and it was going to be difficult, we squared with Ghanaians and said we were not going to, finish them. And remember that promises are not fulfilled in a year. We are talking about 4 years, and hopefully, another 4 years.
Since you're talking about 4 years, is 4 years enough? Is 4 years enough for you to transform this?
Of course, but we are a government which believes in even pipeline projects left by other governments. How much more the ones that will follow another 4 years should we come to power? We believe, remember there were big projects, the Big Six and the rest from the Kufuor administration, which under Professor Mills we mobilized to complete. You remember the Big Six road projects and others? No, we are not going to abandon, promises just because we're going into another year. And that's why I mentioned the fact that we began by showing the experience that we had. Whether you're talking about slowdown in the economy, whether you're talking about, IMF program, whether you're talking about the need to negotiate and let labor and others understand. So the blueprint is there.
Grateful, and that's Seth Terkper, who's the, of course, former finance minister, giving us a sense of how the NDC intends to turn things around.